We can fix this, I think. Well, welcome. If you're new here, my name is Scott, and I've been living out of this Toyota Sienna for a few months now, and I've been trying to get it set up to be livable for me, livable and comfortable for me. And part of that comfort was having a water filter. That's what this is. Well, that's what half of this is. I've had this drip water filter that I made, but I rebuilt it a few months back when I was back in LA a few months back with some new parts, and then I broke it. And so it's been out of commission. And the other part of the reason why I haven't been using this is because I haven't had a real place to store this, to set this up and use it. So today I thought, I can fix this. I'm pretty sure I can fix this. Just need to get a new container and rebuild it. So that's what I'm gonna try to do today, and maybe I can fix another thing or two while I'm at it. Well, I've managed to park up in a very noisy spot here. I'm in the city of Eureka up in Northern California, and I just parked over here at Bayshore Mall just because I need a place to park for a few minutes to try to do this little job. Normally I try to do this in a Home Depot parking lot, but there is no Home Depot here in Eureka. In fact, I don't think there's a Home Depot in this county. Could be wrong about that, but if there is, it's going to be a long drive away. So the mall seemed to be my best choice for that, but that does put us right next to the freeway here, so it is a little bit noisy. But we'll manage, and hopefully we'll get this put together quickly. Now, to give you a little background on what we're working with here, this is a drip water filter, or at least most of a drip water filter, until we get it finished off. And these are water filter candles, that's what they call these, that do the filtering. And these particular candles are made of a ceramic material. And the ceramic is dense enough that it keeps any bacteria from going through the ceramic itself, and that's what does the filtering. Now, these particular filters also have some activated charcoal inside them for a little extra water filtering. And the activated charcoal does pull out some more toxins and some other things that you may not want in your water, like chlorine. So these are the filters that I've been using the most over the last 9 years, because my first drip water filter I did make a little over 9 years ago. So I've made quite a few of these over the years. And I've used a few different types of filters, but these are my favorites. They're made in Britain by a company called Doulton, and the company's been around for, I think, over 100 years, and they've been basically making the same type of water filter for that whole time. Been around a long time, they're proven and trusted, and I certainly trust them, and so that's why I like to have a water filter, especially with these particular water filter candles. So that's why I kind of want to get this put back together so that I can get back to drinking water that has been filtered the way I like to drink it. So to get this back working, we're going to take the lid of the new container, drill a couple of holes that match up with the output of the filter candles, and that's going to be a little harder than it seems because I got to get those lined up pretty perfectly, and then I will just remove these little nuts from the bottom of this container, slide this through, put this all back together, and that should give us our working water filter. At least that's the plan. Now, I do have some reservations about using this container. It's quite a bit thinner of a plastic than the other container, and so I'm not so sure that it's going to hold up very well. In fact, I'm not so sure I'm going to be able to drill through this and it not just break into 10 billion pieces, but we'll give it a try and see what happens. We do have another option. If this doesn't work out, I can go down to the restaurant supply store just outside of town and buy a restaurant supply jug, which is what I normally use. That's what I've always used in the past. I just had switched to this different style because I thought it would kind of fit a little bit better in the van, but we'll see what happens here. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to try to line this up and then mark it with this Sharpie so that I hopefully get the holes in the right place. Now, one thing I've learned in the past is the drill bits you use when you're trying to drill plastic really matters. So these drill bits look really good and sharp, and they are because they're brand new. I just bought them a few weeks back. But these will not work very well with polypropylene plastic, or really any kind of plastic that I've tried in the past. There are better drill bits for that, and the one that I have been using lately is this step drill bit, and these are normally quite expensive, but I bought this one at Harbor Freight, and well, it's not very sharp anymore, which may prove to be a problem here. It does seem to work really good with any kind of plastic that I've tried to drill in the past, so that's what I'm gonna try with this time. And the only other tip I can give you for plastic is to just drill slowly. Let's see how this goes. Now we've got success, even with an old wonky drill and a very dull drill bit. Got these drilled out, and they're the right size. Just need to put the nuts back on the underside of the new container lid. We'll be all done, but before I do that, I'm just gonna give all this stuff a good washing. Although I should probably not get too far ahead of myself, because we do have another hole to drill here. Now, in order to be able to get water out of the new container, I've got to drill another hole for a spigot, and I bought a new spigot here at the natural food store. It's called Eureka Natural Foods. They sell plastic spigots. It's not my first choice, but easy to get and fairly inexpensive. So I've just got to kind of do the same thing, and the spigot pretty much goes on like the filter candles do. It does come with a couple of little rubber washers to keep it watertight, and then a little nut that will go on and secure it all together. This plastic is so thin, I think I just got lucky with it. Just need to take my pocket knife here and just deburr the edges, though. Got this little shards of plastic here I need to remove, otherwise I won't get a good seal. And surprise, surprise, we have done it. We have a all fully functioning, I think, water filter. I do have to test it for leaks and run a little bit of water through it just to clean out the filters, because I haven't been using the filters in a while, so they just need to get rinsed out. But I think it's all good to go. This bottom container is pretty thin, so it's probably not going to last all that long, so I probably will have to be doing this again fairly soon. But it was a fairly cheap container. That's the nice thing about plastic, is while it's not that easy to work with, at least it's cheap and easy to replace. I do like to replace it once in a while. Now, over the years, people have been fairly critical about me using plastic, and my thought on that is that I'm an adult, and so I just use whatever I feel comfortable with, and so I just assume everybody else is going to do the same. I know a lot of people are not comfortable using plastic to store water. These are polypropylene containers. Both of these containers are polypropylene. Polypropylene does not use a plasticizer, so it's generally regarded as the safest plastic to use, and that's part of the reason why I choose to use it. Another reason is I don't want to use glass in my van, so glass is kind of out, although I think glass would be the perfect thing to use, because it does kind of help keep the water cool. So glass is probably the top, and it's completely inert, so you know it's going to be safe to use. But don't want glass in my van at all. I broke quite a bit of glass over the last several years, and so at this point I don't want glass. That's partly why I use a stainless steel container for my coffee. So that's, you know, because I've broken so many mugs, I just stick to the stainless steel now. So that obviously would be another choice, stainless steel. And maybe at some point I will choose to go with a stainless steel container. One of the drawbacks with stainless steel is that you can't see through it. So with plastic, that's the nice thing, is you can see the water level. So you know how much water you put in it, you see how much water is filtered, and you know you need to filter more water, or you've got plenty to drink. So that is a nice thing about having a clear container. So, you know, do what you feel comfortable with, because that's what I'm doing too. So, you know, we're all adults here. So I put this filter together with an offset here because I'm thinking that I can set it right here on top of my fresh water tank. It's not an ideal spot, but it's also not ideal to not be able to use my water filter. So when I realized that it would sit here between the sink and the back door, thought, let's give it a try. Now I may have to adjust my sink over a little bit, but hoping I can just have this work at least until I get some shelves built in the van. You know, I've only been in the van for a few months now, so not everything is set up the way I'd really like it to be. So making some compromises, and making a compromise to have fresh, clean water is probably one that I'll make most any time. Okay, so the big project here is done. This is what I came up with. Got a couple of bungee cords, one that's wrapped around the tailpiece of the sink that's holding it up, and another one that's kind of holding it down in place. Not ideal, but looks like it's going to work, and it just barely clears the door here. So that's the setup for right now. Probably have to come back and tinker with it a little bit. So riding a little bit tight against the back door, but I think that that's not really a problem. I do need to get another couple of bungee cords. I just had two, and it's kind of holding it in place. Seems like it's good enough for right now until I get a couple more. And so I guess that means this project is finished. Now on to the next little one. But to be honest, I don't really want to start another project. I'd rather just make another fresh cup of coffee, make a snack, and enjoy the weather out. It's just absolutely beautiful. Just checked the weather app, and it's 55 degrees, which to me is the perfect temperature. And for the next week and a half, it's supposed to be the same. That's as far as my weather app shows weather in the future. So I'm pretty happy about that. 55 degrees is my kind of ideal temperature. So do I really want to do another project? Not really, but there is a little simple one I can tackle that won't take very long at all. Now, one of the little issues I've had here is with my lighting. I've got these little puck lights that I bought from IKEA, and I've got these two that work really well. They provide quite a bit of light. They plug in to a little USB output box I have over here, and so they work pretty well. They're little tap lights, so you just give them a little tap and they work. But I kind of wished I bought three of them. These two put out a lot of lights, but this third one that I have over my bathroom area doesn't put out much light at all. I don't think you can see that from where you are, can you? So maybe you can't see it because of the outside light. Yeah, there. So this little tap light works pretty much like the other two. They're all from IKEA, but it just doesn't put out quite as much light as I would like. And I was kind of thinking that it would be nice if I had a third one. I wished I'd bought a third one, until I realized, sometimes it takes me a while to realize these things, that I could just swap this one that I have over here for this one. Just move them around, because this one I really don't use all that often. It's kind of too much light for the area over here, and this one doesn't put out enough light for me. So I think I'm just going to swap them around. Just means I've got to fish some wire along through this mess I've got over here. This is so silly because it's such an obvious solution that was right in front of my face the whole time, and yet I just wasn't realizing that all I had to do was switch those two lights around. I was trying to look for new lights, trying to buy new lights from someplace where I had all I needed, and this is the better way to do it. Why buy something if I don't need to buy something? So yeah, that's done. 3-minute job that I should have realized 3 weeks ago to do. Okay, let me close this door here. Get a little darker. Yeah, that's a lot more light over there in the corner. I'm going to need that. That will come in handy. Let's turn that one off. Oh yeah, that's so much better. Normally in the morning, because that other light just wasn't providing quite enough light back there, I'd have to turn this one on just to be able to see enough to get ready in the morning. So this is so much better. This is worthy of a celebration. So I'm going to put the kettle on and make some more coffee. I've got some really good local coffee from my favorite coffee roaster, Fogline. So I might as well just brew up a cup and celebrate the small little victories. Whenever I do a project like this, there inevitably is advice. And sometimes it's good advice, sometimes it's not so good advice, but people are very willing to give you advice whether you want it or not. So you might as well listen to it and take it if it actually means something to you. That's something that I am accustomed to. It's not that I'm trying to get ahead of people giving me bad advice here, but there is kind of a bigger story that I've been kind of wanting to talk about, and this maybe kind of illustrates it a little bit better, being that I'm sitting here in front of something that I need to do in the future, and I've just done a little project now, tiny little project here. Whenever somebody's interested in starting van life, there is always this advice that you should just jump into it. Jump into it and figure everything out later on. And people say, you know, you can build out your van as you go, and you can figure all that out as you're living out of your van. And that piece of advice, I think, is actually a bad piece of advice, although I will say that there is a little bit of truth to it. So it's not totally bad advice, but I think it's not a very good thing to do because it's difficult to do any kind of building or any kind of projects when you're living in your van, which I'll talk a little bit more about. First, I do want to just say that the truth part of it is that you don't want to just, if you're interested in getting into van life, you don't want to just wait for the perfect time to start your van life off, because it'll probably never come. Unless you give yourself a little kick in the keister, you're probably not going to start van life. You know, everything's different for everybody, but there is no perfect time. And so I think that the idea that, you know, just get in the van and figure it all out later, probably good for that aspect, because if you're trying to make everything perfect, it's never going to be perfect. You know, I've had a van before, had it for 9 years. I never finished building it. That's the joke of anybody that has a van and is trying to build out a van. We all say, you know, you never actually finish your build out, which is true. I ran that old van into the ground. I don't know how much longer it would have been on the road. It's in the crusher now, but you know, I never finished it after all of that time. And you know, it's kind of funny if you think about it, but with this van, I had plans on building it out slowly, all the while knowing that it's not very easy to do that. Whether it's a big job or little job, it's difficult just getting the work done if you're living out of the van. And take this project that I need to get to at some point. I need a shelf that runs along this whole side of the van. I have it pictured in my mind. I know what I want to do. I know how I want to build it, what I want to build it with. So that's not the issue. The bigger issue is all of the stuff. So I've got to take all of the stuff that I have, including the bed that I'm sitting on and all the stuff under my bed, and take that out of the van completely. That's a big job all in itself. Then I've got to do the building work and then get everything back in here. Thinking about weather outside. If it's windy, my stuff's going to blow down the road. If it's rainy, that's not so great. So all of that is the reason I haven't started this shelf yet. And it's just because it's difficult. It's difficult to live out of your van and do projects. Not to mention the mess that it makes. You know, even a project like this where I'm going to use new stuff, I'm going to create a bit of mess that needs to be cleaned up. There's more time and effort having to deal with that too. So all of that is the reason that I don't ever recommend people to just jump into van life. I think it's much better the way I did it with my first van, and I had the perfect situation for this, but I built the van out slowly, tried it out a little bit, and then things that worked I kept, things that didn't work, which there were a lot, I would tear out and rebuild. All the time I had a room that I was renting that I could sleep in comfortably. So it was the perfect situation. There were times that I built that van and I didn't have 2 nickels for gas to get out of town, and so to test it out, I would actually just sleep in the van on the streets in front of the room that I was renting, just to try it out. And that's the way that I did it, and it worked out really well. I had a van that was set up very well for me, and everything was kind of tuned very well for me. Now this van, I didn't have that opportunity because I had a van that had to get to the crusher pretty much immediately, or at least, sit in a junkyard, because it just wasn't going to run for very many days longer. And so I had to jump into this really quickly. And so that was the choice that I made. Do I wait for my old van to just conk out and die on me and try to build this van out, or just say I've got a new van and get rid of the old thing? And so that's what I chose to do. I got rid of the anchor that was keeping me in place and tied down and gave me a whole lot of stress, and just jumped into this van. And the build out to this has gone fairly well, but then again, I'm doing a much simpler build than I had on my old van, and that's another thing that I found from the old van that I wanted to change with this van. I wanted to keep the build to be as simple as possible, and I had a very simple build out in my previous van, but I wanted something even simpler, because that's the other thing is, vans wear out, unfortunately, and so you're going to have to rebuild stuff. You're going to have to move into another van in the future. It's not a thought that I like to think about. I kind of like this van to be the last van that I ever have to buy, where it could possibly be, but also you never really know what's going to happen. And so who knows? This might not be the last van I ever have to buy and ever have to build out. So there's all these little things to think about. But jumping into a van just straight away and trying to figure it all out later, that advice just is not very good advice, I don't think. So while I don't want that to sound like I'm giving advice here, it is what I'm thinking. It is kind of the thing that I'm always thinking about, and I definitely don't recommend anybody to just jump in head first. So there, I've said it. You can take it or leave it, whatever you want. This is the only way I can really do projects anymore. Just do little tiny ones when the weather's good, get them done, and then do another little tiny one tomorrow, maybe. Probably not tomorrow. I'm tired of doing projects. I say this all the time, and I mean this. I don't enjoy working on my van anymore. I'm kind of forced to, because I've got this nice new van, new to me, that needs to be finished off. So I have to do these little things, but I just don't really enjoy them, especially on days like today. I'd rather be out walking along. There's a fantastic little park here in Eureka that I've been to before, called Sequoia Park. It's just incredible. Just up the hill, a little ways from where we are right now. I would much rather be there than fooling around with digging out tools and working with stuff. Oh, now I actually need to recharge my battery. There's another thing that has to be done. See, it never ends with these little projects. Little, yeah, but time consuming. Well, I think I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to pack up my tools, put some things away, do a little cleaning, all those things that have to be done after a project. And then I've got enchiladas to make tonight for dinner, and I am ready for them. I am hungry and waiting for them. I'm always hungry for enchiladas. One of my favorite things. I actually had enchiladas last night, liked them so much, I'm going to eat them again tonight. So that's the rest of my day there. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it.